The cryochamber hissed softly in the dark, deep under the surface of the earth, far below the dead cities and broken skies. One man still slept, Jackson Hale. He had volunteered for a 2-year cryo-sleep experiment, one of many survival tests funded by Earth's Final Science Council. The year was 2321 when he closed his eyes. The world was tense. Rumors of war with alien empires were growing. Jackson trusted his team. He trusted humanity. He was wrong. Now over 200 years had passed, the power in the underground facility began to fail. Emergency systems flickered on. Red lights glowed. Machines clicked to life, following their last programmed order. Wake subject Hale. The cryopod released a loud burst of steam. Jackson's body jerked. His eyes opened slowly. He gasped and reached for his chest. System online. A robotics voice said weakly. Jackson sat up. His head spun. Muscles stiff. He blinked in the red light. "What the hell?" he whispered. "Why is it red? Where's Dr. Lennox?" No answer. He stepped out, feet touching cold metal. The room felt strange. Silent. Dust covered the control panels. Screens were cracked. Most of the lights were dead. He limped toward the nearest terminal. His fingers tapped keys. Nothing worked. "Where is everyone?" He asked the empty room. He forced open the main door and entered the hallway. The ceiling had collapsed in some places. Cables hung like vines. Some walls were scorched by fire. The whole place looked abandoned. Jackson's heart raced. Something had gone very wrong. He reached the surface tunnel and climbed the long emergency ladder, pushing open the final hatch. Sunlight blinded him. When his eyes adjusted, he froze. The world was gone. Skyscrapers were in ruins. Roads were cracked. Trees grew wild in the middle of streets. The air was cold and dry. Not a single sound of life. No birds. No people. No machines. Just silence. Jackson stood there, breathless. "This can't be real," he said. "Where is everyone?" He walked for hours. The city he once knew, New Chicago, was now a ghost town. Burn marks covered buildings. Giant claw marks ran across walls. Bones lay on the ground, mixed with broken armor and ash. Then he found the broadcast station. Its doors were open. Inside, the air smelled of dust and death. But one console still had power. He pressed buttons, and an old recording played on the screen. A news anchor appeared, face pale, voice shaking. The image glitched, but Jackson could still hear the words. "This is the final broadcast. They came from deep space. Tried to fight. Our fleets were destroyed. Our defenses failed. The Krell Empire is here if you find this. Hide, run, Earth has fallen." The screen turned black. Jackson stepped back slowly. His hands were shaking. He looked outside. The ruins made sense now. This wasn't a natural disaster. It was a war. And Earth lost. He sank to the ground. For a moment he just sat in the dust, staring at nothing. His world was gone. His friends, his family, everyone. He had slept while the Earth died. But then something inside him changed. His jaw tightened. His fists clenched. No tears came. Just fire. Deep, slow-burning anger. He stood up and looked at the shattered sky. "Whoever did this," he whispered, "I'm still here." That night, he returned to the underground facility. He found old supplies, food rations, weapons, power cells. He cleaned a dusty assault rifle and strapped on a cracked combat vest. In a dark room, he opened a metal locker. Inside was a broken human, flag blue and white, torn but still proud. He wrapped it around his shoulder. Then, as he moved to leave, a flickering screen lit up. It showed a single blinking message. "Lifeform detected. Unknown source tracking." Jackson stared at it. It wasn't from Earth Tech. It was alien. Someone or something was watching. He slowly turned toward the entrance, outside in the ruins. A strange red light moved through the fog. Jackson didn't move. The red light outside the bunker flickered in the fog. It was moving slow, steady, searching. not like a drone from Earth. Its hum was deeper, colder. He turned off the screen and held his breath. Every part of him screamed to run, but he crouched low, listening. The sound of metal scraping against concrete echoed from above. Something was out there. He tightened his grip on the old assault rifle. The weapon was heavy and outdated, but it still worked. He tested it earlier. One shot left in the magazine. That was it. Jackson moved quietly through the hallway, avoiding the broken tiles. His boots barely made a sound. He reached the surface. Hatch and waited. The sound of the red light moved away. Good, whatever it was. It hadn't found him yet. Jackson slipped out and made his way into the city ruins. He kept to the shadows, staying low. As he passed broken cars and shattered glass, something caught his agraphity. A human handprint sprayed in black paint. Below it, in red letters, "We fight in the dark." Jackson touched the wall. It was old, faded, but someone had written it after the invasion. Someone else had. Survived. A spark of hope lit inside him. He followed the path of symbols through back alleys and broken buildings. More marks appeared. Arrows, skulls, warning signs. They led him to the remains of a military bunker, half buried under debris. The entrance was jammed, but he forced it open. Inside, everything was dead. No power, just silence. But near the back, he found a door marked AI Core, restricted. Pushed it open and entered. A large black pod sat in the center, covered in dust. He wiped the screen. It flickered. "Welcome, survivor." Jackson leaned in. "What are you?" "AM Corex. Final defense AI, system failure, 79%. Voice logs corrupted. Power at 12%. Tell me what happened." "Invasion. Alien species. Krell. Initial contact. Hostile. Earth defense. Ineffective. Human population. Exterminated." Jackson's jaw tightened. "Are you sure I'm the only one left?" Scanning. "One human life form detected subject. Hole Jackson. No others found in global range." The weight of those words hit him hard. Alone. Truly alone. But then the AI's voice continued. "Survivor files detected. One hidden data packet. The black. Signal, what's that?" "Last human resistance message. Do you want to play?" "Yes," Jackson said. The screen showed a fuzzy image. Old soldier, face scarred, voice shaky. "If you're seeing this, you survived. Or maybe you're just stubborn. We found a weak point in their control tech. Their hive systems can be disrupted only for seconds, but it's enough. We stored the data in a hidden uplink at Vault 7, deep in the Arctic zone. If you want payback, ... go there. Finish what we couldn't." The message ended. Jackson stood still for a long moment. Finally, he whispered, "I will." As he turned to leave, the AI spoke one last time. "Warning, you are being tracked. Krell Scout Class 3 moving toward your position." He ran back outside. The red light was closer. It was no longer just a light. It had a shape. Now, tall, insect-like, metal legs and arms. A long head with blinking sensors. Krell drone. Jackson ducked behind rubble. The drone scanned the area, emitting a strange clicking sound. He knew he couldn't fight it, not with one bullet. So he waited, holding his breath. But then his foot slipped. A rock fell. Clack. The drone spun fast. A beam of red light hit, though. Rubble inches from his head, Jackson ran. The drone chased, firing energy blasts. Buildings crumbled around him. One shot missed him by inches, burning through a wall. He turned a corner and ducked into a ruined subway entrance. The drone followed Jackson. Set a trap, an old EMP charge he'd taken from the bunker. He waited until the drone stepped inside, then triggered it. Boom. The blast wasn't big, but it was enough. The drone sparked and froze. Its lights died. Jackson approached slowly, breathing hard. The Krell machine twitched once, then went still. Pulled off its head panel and found a glowing Corellian tech. He took it. Maybe the AI could study it. Maybe it would help. He stood over the broken machine. "First one down," he said. not the last. Far above, in the cold orbit of Earth, a Krell ship received a signal. Human life form confirmed. Threat level escalating. The ship turned. More drones began to launch. But down below, in the dust of a dead world, the last human was just getting started. The snow was falling. Jackson Hale pulled his coat tight as freezing wind cut across the ruined mountains. He had been walking for days north, toward the Arctic zone, toward Vault-7. He didn't know what he would find there, maybe nothing. Wait. Death. But if there was even a chance of hitting the Krell where it hurt, he had to try. The Krell core he took from the drone was strapped to his back. Corex had helped him patch together a tracking device using it. Now the machine beeped with every step, guiding him. Ahead, covered in snow, he saw the remains of a tall antenna. He was close. Vault 7 wasn't just buried, it was hidden. Only part of the tower stuck out from the ground. Everything else was deep below the ice. Sealed during the last days of the war, Jackson used a plasma cutter to break into a service tunnel. The metal door gave a long groan, then opened. Cold. Air rushed out. It smelled like rust and frozen oil. Inside, the lights flickered on one by one. Dim, weak, but alive. He entered carefully. Rifle ready, there were signs of battle scorch marks, blood on the walls, destroyed Krell limbs. But also something else. Power. The main console in the control room was still running. That meant someone human, or AI, had kept it alive. He pressed a button. A recording began. A woman's voice, calm but tired. If you're hearing this, you're either very late or very stubborn. I'm Commander Ria Voss of the Arctic Resistance Cell. Before we fell, we discovered a flaw in the Krell Hivelink. A weakness. They rely on a synchronized signal, break it, and you confuse there. Units. Jackson listened closely. The disruption tech was too risky to deploy during full war. But now if you're alone, it might give you the edge. We stored the algorithm inside a satellite uplink hidden in orbit. Suddenly the screen glitched. Jackson leaned in. A new face appeared. It's not human. A Krell. The signal had been intercepted long ago. Message logged. Human desperation. Amusing. Uplink access terminated. Coordinates deleted. You are too late. Then silence. Jackson slammed his fist on the console. Damn it. But then the screen flickered one last time. Final hidden line of code revealed. Itself, a backup. String of numbers. Orbital coordinates. The message wasn't fully lost. He copied the data and uploaded it to a portable drive. He now had the location of the satellite. He now had a chance. Outside, the storm had worsened, but Jackson didn't stop. He wrapped the core tighter and began climbing to higher ground. There was an old Earth defense launch pad nearby, marked in Vault 7's records. If it still had a working missile or booster, he could use it to fire. A probor reached the satellite another way. But when he reached the launch site, something was waiting. A Krell dropship. Its metal body steamed in the cold. Alien symbols glowed across its hull. Next to it stood something much worse, a Krell. Hunter-class unit, tall, strong, smarter than a drone. Its eyes glowed yellow, and it held a weapon in each hand. Jackson ducked behind a broken pillar. He checked his gear to EMP charges. 1 shock grenade and 6 rounds in his rifle. Not enough, but he didn't care. He waited for the wind to rise and made his move. He rolled out through the shock grenade and opened fire. The grenade exploded with a crack of light. The hunter turned, dodging fast. Jackson hit it once in the shoulder. Sparks flew. The hunter fired back, missing by inches. Jackson threw an EMP at its feet. It buzzed and exploded. The hunter stumbled, but it didn't fall. Too strong, Jackson muttered. The creature lunged at him. Jackson ran toward the launch pad, sliding under a broken beam. The hunter followed, smashing through metal. Jackson lured it toward the edge, where a deep pit had opened under the cracked platform. Then, just as the hunter leaped, Jackson sidestepped and stabbed his last EMP into its chest. The blast sent the hunter over the edge. It fell and didn't climb back out. Jackson breathed hard, heart pounding. He walked to the edge and looked down. Only smoke. One more dead. He turned to the drops. It was damaged, but maybe flyable. He stepped inside and stared at the strange alien controls. Then he smiled. Time to go orbital. Far above Earth, the old human satellite drifted in silence. Its lights dimmed inside. A blinking file still waited. A message the Krell had missed. The Krell dropship shook as it climbed through Earth's upper atmosphere. Jackson sat in the pilot's chair, strapped in tight. The controls were strange, full of glowing symbols he didn't understand. Luckily, Corex had helped him upload a basic translation tool. The ship groaned and trembled, but it was flying. Just barely. On the small screen ahead, the human satellite appeared, a dark, floating relic, drifting silently above the Earth. Its panels were cracked, and its signal was weak, but it was still alive, and it held the weapon he needed. The dropship locked onto the satellite and docked with a heavy thud. Jackson pulled on his helmet, grabbed his rifle, and stepped into the airlock. The hatch opened. Silence. He floated inside the satellite's main chamber, light from Earth shining through the cracked panels. Dust and ice drifted like ghosts. There were human markings on the wall. Unit 09. Uplink. Vault. He found the console quickly and inserted the data core. It worked. The backup data loaded. The algorithm. The Krell disruptor flashed onto the screen. A pulse file designed to break their hive link for 10 seconds. Enough time to turn a battle. Enough to kill them. Jackson smiled, but his smile faded fast. The satellite sensors blinked red. Warning. Unauthorized vessel approaching. He turned toward the docking hatch. The Krell had followed him. He grabbed the data, sealed it in a capsule, and dropped it into his belt. He raced back to the dropship too late. The hatch exploded inward. A Krell Wraith unit entered, black armor, curved blades, and eyes like cold fire, silent, deadly. A high-class assassin. Jackson fired his rifle. The Wraith dodged, moved like smoke, and threw a blade. It scraped Jackson's side. Cutting through armor, he growled in pain, dropped behind a panel, and rolled. The Wraith advanced fast. Jackson grabbed a magnetic wrench and hurled it. It hit the Wraith's shoulder, making it stumble for half a second. That was enough. Jackson pulled a plasma cutter from his belt and lit it as the Wraith jumped toward him. He swung. The cutter sliced through the alien's side. It shrieked a sound not meant for human ears. The Wraith slashed back. Jackson blocked with his arm. Sparks flew. They fought across the satellite chamber, smashing into old equipment and bouncing off the walls. Jackson used every dirty trick: wires, pipes, gravity tools. Still the Wraith kept coming, but Jackson was angry, angrier than the Wraith. He grabbed a power coil from the wall and jammed it into the Wraith's back. The alien screamed. Electric fire danced through its body. Its lights went dark. It fell. Jackson didn't wait. He limped to the dropship, sealed the hatch, and punched the engines. The satellite shrank behind him as Earth grew. Larger in the viewport, the data was his now. The weapon was real, and the Krell had made a mistake. They should have killed him in his sleep. Back on the surface, the Krell War Command received the signal. WRAITH Hennet 07. Offline. Satellite uplink. Breached. Human activity. Confirmed. A Krell overlord turned toward the display. One human has accessed restricted code. That is unacceptable. Deploy the hunter swarm, it hissed. Find him. Burn everything. Jackson landed the dropship in the rocky Wessa. Dead desert of metal and sand. No cities, no life. But he had to stay hidden. He powered down the ship and entered an old cum station buried beneath the rocks. There he uploaded the Krell disruptor into Corex's memory banks. Confirmed, the AI said. Signal ready. Transmission radius, 120 kilometers. Time disruption, 10 seconds. That's enough to punch a hole in them, Jackson said. And start something bigger. He sat down, patched his wounds, and looked at a cracked photo he kept in his vest. A woman and a boy. His family. Long gone. "I'm not stopping now," he whispered. "They'll feel what we felt." Suddenly the warning alarm blared. Krell swarm detected. ETA. 3 minutes. Jackson stood. He checked his gear. He wasn't going to run. He was going to fight. He opened the bunker's front blast door and stepped. Outside, dust swirling around him. In the distance, a swarm of black ships descended like locusts. Jackson grinned. "Good," he said. "Come and get me." Dust exploded across the desert floor as the Krell swarm descended. Ships like black daggers stabbed into the ground, one after another. Metallic wings folded in, doors opened, and out poured the soldiers of a dead empire, clawed feet glowing. Weapons. Emotionless helmets. Dozens. Then hundreds. They were hunting one man. Jackson Hale. He stood on the high ridge, alone. Wind blowing his coat, rifle across his chest. No backup. No army. Just rage. And a plan inside the desert come station. Jackson had prepared everything. Old Earth tech had been wired into homemade bombs. Antimatter fuel from the dropship was buried under the sand. At the center, waiting silently, was the Krell disruptor core wired to trigger when the time was right. He spoke quietly into the corex. "Do you read me?"
X.
"Signal ready. Krell forces. Within blast radius. And let's welcome our guests." He pressed the button. The Krell moved through the canyons, their scanners sweeping the area. But something was wrong. Their communications buzzed, then cut. Their weapons glitched. Their formations scattered. The disruptor had activated. 10 seconds. Of chaos, Jackson used every second. He emerged from a cave tunnel, rifle blazing. His shots were precise. 3 Krell dropped before the others even turned. He used the terrain, ran across narrow ledges, dropped traps from above, and used smoke bombs to blind their vision. 1 Krell charged him huge. Armored Jackson pulled a short blade from his belt and leapt. The fight was brutal. Blood sprayed the rocks. Jackson came out limping but alive. He dragged the alien's corpse into view and lit it on fire. The Krell saw it and paused. This wasn't just resistance. This was vengeance. But it wasn't over. The Overlord's ship hovered above now, watching, learning. Inside, a new command was given. Deploy the Crusher. The ground rumbled. From the belly of the ship, a massive creature dropped to earth, part machine, part beast. It stood 3 stories tall. With arms like cannons and a face made of blades, it roared. Even the other Krell backed away. The Crusher moved toward Jackson's location. Jackson stood at the top of the central canyon. He looked up. He saw the Crusher coming, but he didn't run. He pulled a small switch from his pocket. One final trap. He waited until the monster was in the center of the kill zone. Then he pressed. Boom! The desert erupted. Fire tore through the ground. Explosives hidden under the rocks exploded in waves. Krell soldiers were tossed into the air like broken toys. The Crusher screamed. Falling into a deep sinkhole Jackson had prepared. Its body hit the bottom with a crash. Alive but stuck, Jackson walked to the edge and looked down at it. "You picked the wrong planet," he said. Then, through an EMP grenade, it detonated. The Crusher's eyes faded out, dead. The sun. Krell ships began to pull back, confused. Afraid, Jackson picked up a stolen Krell radio. He hacked into their local frequency, and then spoke, his voice calm, cold. "You invaded my world while I slept. You thought it was easy. You thought we were finished. But you forgot something." He paused. "Humans don't quit." Then he ended the transmission and painted a human skull on a rock using Krell blood. From orbit, the Krell overlords watched in silence. "One human did this," one said. "He fights like a swarm. Should we retreat?" "No," the leader replied. "We study him. We understand him. And then we erase him." A bandage around his arm. He was bleeding, exhausted, alone, but alive. He stared at the stars. "They're watching," he whispered. "Good. Let them watch." His war had just begun. Snow fell gently over the ruins of the northern Wallst. Jackson Hale walked through the frozen silence. Following a faint signal, Corex had picked up a distress beacon. Old human, buried. Deep under the ice? Maybe nothing. Yeah, maybe everything. His breath formed clouds in the cold air. His coat was torn, his wounds fresh. But he kept moving. Every step took him closer to something long forgotten. He reached the location just after nightfall. An old military research facility, half collapsed under ice and stone. Most of the surface was destroyed, but a cracked satellite dish still blinked with weak red light. Jackson forced open a steel door and stepped. Inside, the air was stale, silent. Dust floated like snow in the air. He turned on his flashlight. Metal walls, frozen pipes. Long hallways, filled with broken lights. Then he found the vault door. Cryobay 14, do not unseal without command. Jackson wiped away the frost on the control panel. Power levels were low, but stable. Inside, 7 cryopods stood upright in a circle, and inside each one, a human, eyes closed. Frozen in time, Jackson's heart pounded. Survivors. He whispered. He checked the system log's name. Commander Lynn Reyes status. Stable name, LT, Tom Booker. Status. Stable others. Stable all of them were part of. Earth's last defense unit, ghost unit thought to be destroyed in the Krell invasion. But they weren't destroyed. They were hidden and forgotten. Jackson activated the emergency wake-up cycle. Alarms beeped softly. The pods hissed. The first to open was Reyes. Her eyes snapped open. She gasped, coughing hard, then looked around, confused. Then her eyes locked on Jackson. Who? We went on and went out with ennui. I can win with for will. Well, we probably why do why we I saw why can't with I so watch it to sell with fed up with I went that could Jackson gave a small nod. The last man standing, until now. One. By one, the others woke up. They sat around a small heater, drinking warm nutrient packs. Their faces were thin, pale, but their eyes were sharp. Soldiers, even after all this time. Reyes looked at Jackson. You said the Krell are still here? Not just here, he said. They've made Earth a hunting ground. I've been fighting them alone for weeks. Killed a few, took one of their ships, sent a message. She raised an eyebrow. A message. He nodded. That humanity isn't done. The group fell silent. Then Reyes smiled. That's the most human thing I've heard in years. They spent the next day fixing weapons and exploring the base. Jackson showed them the Krell disruptor file. Tom whistled. This could tear open. Their lines. 10 seconds of confusion is a lifetime in a battle. Reyes said. We don't just survive now. We fight back. Jackson agreed. But we'll need more than guns. We'll need chaos. He led them to the surface, where his stolen dropship sat hidden under snow. They stared at it with wide eyes. You stole that? Booker asked. Jackson smirked. It wasn't using it. Properly. It got to work. The dropship was modified into a mobile command base. They built jammers, drones, traps. Jackson taught them how the Krell think, how they move. Reyes shared old Earth tactics. Together, they became something dangerous. A pack of ghosts. 2 nights later, Krell returned. Scouts detected energy signals from the reactivated base. They sent a patrol 12-foot soldiers to drones. They never came back. The moment they stepped into the canyon, traps activated blades from above, fire from below. Jammers that fried sensors. Jackson and the others attacked from all sides. 10 seconds. That's all it took. Reyes smiled after it was done. They weren't ready for us. Jackson looked at the pile of burning metal. They never will be. High above, the Krell overlord watched the loss report. Now there are 8. How? Unknown. But the human is no longer alone. Then send the Reapers. That night, around a fire inside the base, Reyes asked Jackson a question. When you woke up, what did you feel? Jackson stared into the flames. Silence, he said. The kind that doesn't end. And then, fire. Not fear. Not sadness. Just fire. Reyes nodded slowly. Then maybe we woke up at the right time. Jackson looked at the stars. They came to conquer, he said. But now we're going to show them why Earth is a bad place to make enemies. The night sky burned, from the edge of the ruined Colorado Ridge. Jackson Hale and his new team watched streaks of fire cross the heavens. Krell drop pods. More of them faster, heavier. They're getting serious, Booker said. Jackson didn't flinch. Good, that means they're scared. Commander Reyes folded her arms. Then let's scare them more. Behind them stood something once thought lost. Project Sky Talon Ann, old human stealth fighter, buried under years of ice and rock, hidden in a hangar deep beneath the mountain. The team had spent days repairing it. Jackson found it through Vault 7. Files. The Krell never discovered it, until now. No one had dared use it. But Jackson was ready to take the war above Earth. The Sky Talon was a black-winged machine. It's built for speed and silence. Earth's final space weapon. Fast, agile, and almost invisible to radar. It needed to pilots. Jackson would fly it. Reyes would control weapons, as the team fueled it up. Reyes checked the satellite disruptor data one last time. We can upload this into the Talon's cannon system, she said. One blast into their orbital command ship will break their hive for 10 seconds. Then we strike, Jackson said. Booker handed him a cracked flight helmet. You sure you can fly this thing? Jackson smiled. I learned how to shoot. Alien tech in a cave? I'll manage. The Sky Talon launched at dawn. The mountain trembled as its engines roared. Dust flew across the ridge, lifted into the sky and vanished into the clouds, leaving behind only silence. The stars above glowed, brighter as Jackson and Reyes broke through the atmosphere. For a moment, it was quiet. Then the Krell saw them. Alarms flashed inside the cockpit. Oh. A fleet of Krell ships moved to intercept. We've got 3 cruisers incoming, Reyes said. Big ones. Jackson tightened his grip on the controls. Then let's see what this bird can do. The dogfight exploded in space. Krell fighters zoomed toward the Talon, firing energy beams. Jackson rolled and spun through them, dodging with sharp, sudden turns. Reyes locked on with cannons and fired. One Krell fighter exploded in flames. Another tried to flank them, but Jackson looped behind it and blasted it from the sky. They flew straight toward the Krell. Command ship, a massive black structure in orbit. Claws like a spider wrapped around Earth. That was the target. Reyes uploaded the disruptor, code into the Talon's main cannon, ready to fire. Do it, Jackson said. She pressed the trigger. A silent pulse blasted from the Talon's nose, invisible to the eye, but deadly to the Krell network. Inside the command ship, systems blinked. Lights died. Controls stopped responding. Krell. Voices screamed in confusion. Hive, dash link, down, 10 seconds. Jackson dove in. The Talon dropped through the fleet like a falling star, guns blazing. Reyes targeted engines and weak spots. The Krell. Ships couldn't respond. They were blind, unlinked, disconnected. By the time the Hive link rebooted, Jackson and Reyes had destroyed 2 warships and escaped into low orbit. But it wasn't over. Giant Krell warbeast, part ship, part living organism, launched after them. Faster than anything they'd seen. It's gaining, Reyes shouted. Then we take it down before it gets close. Jackson climbed straight into the sky, flipped, and dropped behind the beast. The Talon's main cannon lit up. Reyes locked in. They fired. Boom. The beast exploded in a fireball above Earth's atmosphere, raining burning fragments across the sky. The Sky Talon flew through the explosion like a blade through smoke. Back at the mountain base, the team watched from the control room. They saw Krell ships break formation and scatter. Did they just run? Booker said. Not all, another replied, but yes. Some did. Reyes's voice came through the cum. Krell Hivelink has a hole now, and we just flew a missile through it. Jackson added, We're not the hunted anymore. The hunters? In space, inside the Krell command ship, the Overlord slammed its clawed hand into a control panel. This human is not normal. He learns. He adapts. Then we must end him before others rise. It looked toward a frozen chamber in the ship's core. Inside, something massive began to wake up, Lloyd the Executioner. Back on Earth, Jackson landed the Sky Talon. The team greeted him with cheers. But he didn't smile. Not yet. He looked to the stars again. They'll send something worse next, he said. Reyes nodded. Then we'll send them home in pieces. The sky over Earth was no longer quiet. A massive shadow moved through the clouds, larger than any Krell ship seen before. It blocked the sun, shaking the ground with its deep engine hum. Alien signals screamed across the atmosphere. Civilizations once fell when this thing arrived. The Executioner had come, built for one. Purpose-complete annihilation. Jackson Hale stood on the cliff, watching it. That's their answer, he said. Commander Reyes looked through binoculars. It's not just a warship. It's alive. Part machine, part monster. It's feeding off Earth's energy. If it roots into the planet, we're done. Jackson's jaw tightened. Then we kill it before it gets comfortable. Inside the mountain base, the team gathered around a holographic map. The Executioner had deployed ground anchors across the globe. It was trying to drill into Earth's core, to steal energy and destroy any resistance. Reyes pointed to the glowing red circles. If we take out the anchors, it'll weaken the whole thing. But we only have one shot. The main ship will adapt fast, Booker added. The Sky Talon's fusion bomb is ready. We can launch it straight into the creature's core, but someone needs to fly it in close. Silenced. Jackson stepped forward. I'll do it. Reyes looked at him. You won't survive that. Jackson shrugged. Wasn't supposed to survive. The first time. This time, I choose how it ends. But Reyes grabbed his arm. No. We do this together.
Jackson paused, then nodded.
Let's end it. They launched at dawn. The Sky Talon flew faster than ever before, streaking toward the Executioner as lightning flashed around it. Its mouth-like opening glowed, ready to fire on Earth's last free zone. Jackson flew low while Reyes handled weapons. The others launched ground attacks from mobile units. Disabling the anchor points, explosions lit the world. The Executioner's defenses activated. Giant plasma turrets locked onto the Talon. Evasive now, Reyes shouted. Jackson spun the ship, through incoming fire, dodging blasts that could tear mountains apart. The cockpit rattled. Shields broke. Smoke filled the rear cabin. We're not going to make it, she said. Yes, Jackson replied, gripping the controls. We are. He dove straight into the Executioner's glowing core. Inside the beast, the walls were alive, moving, breathing, pulsing. The Talon scanners went wild. Reyes activated the fusion bomb. 30 seconds to detonation. Tentacles of metal and flesh reached for them. Jackson flew fast, cutting through the narrow paths, dodging moving walls. A tentacle smashed into the wing. Alarms blared. Reyes yelled, We're losing control. Jackson didn't slow down. They reached the chamber's heart. A glowing red sphere wrapped in alien bone. He aimed, bomb away. Reyes hit the release. They dropped the bomb and turned hard, but it was too late. A tentacle pierced the ship's engine. Fire erupted. The Talon spun, crashing against the inner wall. The ship came to a stop, broken. Reyes groaned. We're stuck. Jackson crawled from his seat, bleeding. We finished this. On foot. They grabbed rifles and moved through the creature's body as it shook and screamed. They found a narrow path to the hangar bay. A head in escape pod. Get in, Jackson said. Reyes turned. Both of us. Jackson didn't move. You armed? The bomb? I'll make sure it goes off. Jackson, no time. He pushed her in and hit the launch button. The pod fired out of the beast like a bullet. Just as the fusion bomb reached final countdown, Jackson limped toward the heart. He sat down beside the glowing core and pulled out a photo from his Vestas family. He smiled. For Earth, he said, and closed his eyes. Boom. The sky lit up with a second sun. The executioner exploded midair, its body torn into burning pieces. That rained across the oceans and deserts, all across Earth. Krell's systems blinked and died. Hivelink, destroyed. Fleet, disconnected. The Krell were finished. Later, in the rebuilt mountain base, Reyes stood on a platform, speaking into a live feed that reached surviving human outposts and resistance signals across the stars. This is Commander Reyes. Earth stands free. The Krell are broken. Humanity lives. We survived the invasion. Because one man woke up. She raised a hand. Behind her, the sky was calm again. A small grave stood near the mountain cliff. A metal tag marked with Jackson Hale, the last man to sleep. The first to rise, A. A battered human flag waved beside it, and on the stone carved with fire were his final words. You came to conquer, but we remembered how to fight.